So today we have some pretty exclusive information once again from Michael and a source regarding the 2021 iPad Pro, and it's good and bad news at the same time. But first of all, let me give you guys some context. So basically, Apple and a lot of other companies are currently facing a global chip shortage purely because of COVID and the supply constraints. And so Nikkei Asia Review today reported that basically Apple will have major delays with the iPad and MacBooks launching this year because of this chip shortage. And specifically, we could be seeing display component shortages with the iPad range. Now, this actually perfectly ties in with a tidbit we got from Mr. Kang, the most reliable Apple leaker there is, who hinted at supply constraints at launch and suggested that we might see the Wi-Fi versions launch first and then the 5G versions launch a little later. And well, today Michael's source tells me that we could be seeing the 11-inch Wi-Fi version launch first, and then the 12.9-inch version and the 5G versions of both sizes will launch at a later date. So now do you understand why I said it's good and bad news? But anyways, let's delve into that and some other tidbits Michael told me about the new iPad Pros. So without further ado, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors, and with that being said, let's just tuck in. So first and foremost, I want to say that Michael's source is someone with no credibility, and so definitely take this information with a grain of salt, which has kind of become the standard amongst Apple leaks nowadays because it seems we can't trust anyone, but that is the state of leaks in 2021. But anyways, I want to delve into two direct quotes that Michael gave me from the source, and by the way, these were translated from Chinese. But anyways, number one, he says there is great doubt that both sizes will go on sale at one time, but they will be presented at one time, large model with 5G, with exactly delayed. And then the following quote is, a smaller model with Wi-Fi will arrive faster this month. Now, me and Michael did discuss about these quotes, and basically what we think he's saying is that, yes, we will see a press release on the 14th of April, so next Wednesday we should see the announcements for both iPad Pros, the 11-inch and 12.9-inch size, but much like the iPhone 12 series, we will see a staggered release, so we see the 11-inch model release first to the public, and then the 12.9-inch version, alongside the 5G models, launch a little later. So let's begin on the information about the 11-inch iPad Pro. So Michael tells me that yes, this will be a pretty basic upgrade for the most part. The source clearly states that the 12.9-inch model is Apple's Halo iPad, and so all the focus is on that variant, and so a lot of the features we should expect are coming to the bigger model. And so basically with the 11-inch iPad Pro, it should be the A14X chip, and that's about it. So yeah, kinda disappointing, I can't lie, especially as a fan of the smaller 11-inch iPad Pro, but it does kind of feel to me that Apple might have restricted a few features purely because of COVID, and maybe if there weren't any supply shortages, we might have seen, of course, the mini LED upgrade on the 11-inch iPad Pro 2. But there is one advantage the 11-inch iPad Pro has, and that is, much like I have suggested in the past, the 11-inch iPad Pro should be compatible with existing accessories, and so this does sort of confirm the leak from Uncle Pan that showcased a label from the back of the new Magic Keyboard, and as you can see, it does say that it supports the first generation, second generation, and third generation iPad Pro. And so if you are upgrading from the 2018 or 2020 iPad Pro, you can use your existing accessories and keyboards with the 11-inch version this year. That is great news, but of course, it still doesn't make up for the fact that the 11-inch model is getting neglected by Apple. And I can't lie, I do kind of see Apple shifting their focus to the iPad Air and making that the only 11-inch iPad in the lineup. Because if Apple gave the Air 120Hz and maybe quad speakers, it's pretty much an 11-inch Pro. And so, yeah, I don't think Apple needs a smaller Pro anymore. And so hopefully Apple does change this in the future and gives us an 11-inch Air with all the bells and whistles, and then of course a more pro-end iPad Pro 12.9-inch that could maybe have a more powerful chip and possibly Pro apps as an exclusive feature over the rest of the lineup. Talking about the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, Michael does tell me that yes, the 12.9-inch model will be getting thicker to accommodate Mini LED, and that's purely because Mini LED does create a lot of heat, and so to disperse that heat, you need a bigger body, and so Apple is going to be making the 12.9-inch iPad Pro a little thicker, like some previous reports have suggested. However, because of this, our worst nightmare has become true, because yes, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro will not be compatible with existing accessories and keyboards, so you have to shell out another $350 for a new keyboard for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which kind of feels a little scummy to me. Anyways, Michael also says that yes, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro will have very tight supply, maybe because of Mini LED, and of course, the display component shortages that Nikkei Asia Review told us about. And so yes, it does seem like the 12.9-inch iPad Pro will be available around 2 to 3 weeks later, after of course, the initial announcement. Now you may be wondering, if the 12.9-inch iPad Pro is getting thicker, then surely it has a new Magic Keyboard, and yes, Michael does say that is on the way, much like some other sources have stated, though do note, Michael is currently working on getting all the details about the Magic Keyboard, and so once he does tell me, I'll make sure to tell you guys in a separate video. Now guys, if I were to speculate, I think the sad truth will be the fact this new Magic Keyboard will be identical to the current model, except of course it will be built for the new dimensions of the Mini LED iPad Pro, purely because we haven't heard a single thing about this new Magic Keyboard, and it's really weird because of course we usually do get details about what to expect with pretty much every product. In fact, we have images of the Apple Pencil 3, and yet we don't have images of this new Magic Keyboard, and so that does lead me to believe we won't see any major upgrades with the Magic Keyboard. However guys, there is a glimpse of hope, because apparently this Magic Keyboard will be delayed much like the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And if you think about it, why would Apple have to delay this new Magic Keyboard if of course it's going to be identical to the current version? Because I know that COVID can of course restrict supply, but especially considering the fact the current Magic Keyboards are pretty much in stock everywhere, it does lead me to believe that maybe we're seeing this delay because of some sort of new feature. And so I do hope that is the case, because if Apple's going to make us pay another $350, they have to give us some sort of new feature to entice us. And now we have the final tidbits. So the 5G variants of both the 11-inch and 12.9-inch iPad Pro have been pushed back. This was suggested by Kang, and now Michael's source does say the same thing. So if you are looking towards getting a cellular model, you might have to wait a little while. And also iPadOS 14.5 will come out of the box with the new iPad Pro, which makes a lot of sense because Tim Cook himself did say iOS 14.5 will be out in the next few weeks, and so clearly they were waiting to release these new iPads before releasing iOS/iPadOS 14.5, and it does definitely rationalize why we saw so many delays with the public release. Now, I do want to say there is a very small chance we could see Pro apps at launch with iPadOS 14.5, purely because we did see such a big feature in the form of cursor support come to iPadOS 13.4 last year with the 2020 iPad Pros. And so yes, I can see Apple doing the same with the 2021 iPad Pros and launching Final Cut, Logic Pro, and Xcode at last with iPadOS 14.5. Though do note, that is complete speculation from my part. Obviously, Apple can decide to push back Pro apps till iOS 15, which is perfectly plausible, and so we will have to wait and see. But anyways, to summarize, yes, we are seeing the iPad Pros on the 14th, at least according to the source, but the 11-inch Wi-Fi version will only be available to order on the day, and I'm assuming there won't be any pre-order period, purely because the iPad Pro 2020 was available to order on the day of the press release, and so I can see a similar thing for the 11-inch Wi-Fi version. As to when we see the 12.9-inch version alongside the 5G variants, I am not really sure. Michael does not say anything, but of course, we can speculate, and judging by the fact the iPhone 12 Pro Max and Mini launched around 3 weeks later than the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro, it's likely Apple has a similar strategy with the release of this iPad Pro. So if I were to speculate, I think the dates will look like this. So we see, of course, the 11-inch iPad Pro being available to buy on the 14th, and then it ships a week later on the 21st, and then the 12.9-inch iPad Pro alongside possibly the 5G versions, since of course the leaker did say large model with 5G with exactly delayed, which I'm assuming means the delay will be a similar amount for both the 12.9-inch and 5G version, and so they should launch together. But anyways, as I was saying, you should probably be able to order the 12.9-inch iPad Pro and the 5G variants around 3 weeks later on the 5th of May, and then of course they ship on the 12th. As for the Magic Keyboards, we have to speculate once again, and my guess is that because we saw a delay of around a month with the original Magic Keyboards, which launched on the 22nd of April compared to the 25th of March, which was when we saw the 2020 iPad Pros launch, and so we could see a pretty similar thing happen this year where we see the Magic Keyboard launch on the week commencing on the 11th. So it really could drop any day of that week. We just have to keep our eyes peeled, though of course we don't have any dates from the source, and so hopefully these delays aren't as bad as I predict them to be. Anyways, tell me in the comments below, if this does happen, are you going to go for the 11-inch size just so you can get an iPad ASAP, or are you going to wait patiently for the 12.9-inch iPad Pro? Because I'm not a very patient guy, so I think I'm going to go with the 11-inch size just so I can get it as soon as possible. And on that note, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. For the latest Apple news and rumors, check out the video in the icon above about some pretty juicy iOS 15 leaks. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya, peeps.